In the heart of World War II, amidst the chaos of the Pacific Theatre, a daring operation was conceived. Its mission? To strike a decisive blow against the Japanese forces and disrupt their vital supply lines. Little did its crew know the legacy their mission would have on not only the war, but the Australian identity. This remarkable tale of bravery and audacity would be known as Operation Jaywick. In March 1942, the formation of Special Operations Australia, a collaborative intelligence organisation of the Allied forces, took place. Operating covertly, SOA comprised of a group of British SOE officers who had successfully evaded capture in Japanese-occupied Singapore. This group became the core of ISAD, with its headquarters situated in Melbourne. Recognising the need for specialised commando operations, a dedicated unit called Z Special Unit, later known as Z-Force, was established in June 1942. Comprised primarily of personnel from the Australian Army and Royal Australian Navy, Z-Force became an integral part of SOA's operations. During the year 1943, an amphibious scheme was conceived by Captain Ivan Lyon, a 28-year-old officer from the Allied Intelligence Bureau and the Gordon Highlanders, along with Bill Reynolds, a 61-year-old Australian civilian. Their objective involved launching an audacious assault on Japanese shipping within Singapore Harbour. The plan entailed employing a clever disguise, a vessel masquerading as an unassuming Asian fishing boat. Commandos would navigate to the harbour on this covert craft and proceed to employ foalboats, collapsible canoes, to stealthily attach limpet mines onto Japanese ships, thereby executing their daring mission. Under the guidance of Major Lyon and Captain Davidson, the initial training for the upcoming raid was meticulously organised and executed at Refuge Bay. This chosen location, tucked away in the secluded and inaccessible region along the Hawkesbury River in New South Wales, was aptly named Camp X for the purpose of the operation. To prepare the prospective operations for their mission, foalboats played a crucial role in the training process. However, after an extensive search conducted by military personnel throughout Australia, only 2 suitable foalboats were discovered, a 1-man and a 2-man variant. These were promptly acquired on site from Walter Hone, a reputable foalboat builder. Following a successful test run on the Yarra River in Alphington, Colonel Mott and Major Moneypenny, representing the Inter-Allied Services Department, oversaw the acquisition. Additionally, the resourceful trainees at Camp X, under the careful supervision of Davidson, constructed a wooden, rigid canoe to further support their training endeavours. Bill Reynolds had come into possession of a Japanese coastal fish carrier measuring in at 21.3 metres in length. Known as Kafuku Maru, Reynolds had previously utilised his vessel to facilitate the evacuation of refugees from Singapore. Recognising the strategic value of the boat, Major Lyon took charge and arranged for its transportation from India to Australia. Once the vessel arrived, Lyon made a decision to bestow upon it a new name, Crate, inspired by the lethal yet diminutive Asian snake known for its potency. This renaming symbolised the covert and deadly nature of their impending operations. In mid-1943, the Crate embarked on a journey from a training camp located in Broken Bay, New South Wales, to Thursday Island. On board, there was a contingent from Z Special Unit, consisting of 3 British and 11 Australian personnel. The team members aboard the Crate were as follows: Major Ivan Lyon, the mission commander; Lieutenant Hubert Edward Cass, the Crate's captain; Lieutenant Donald Montague Noel Davison; Lieutenant Robert Charles Page; Corporal Andrew Anthony Crilly; Corporal R.G. Morris; Leading Seaman Kevin Patrick Kane; Leading Stroker James Patrick McDowell; Leading Telegraphist Horace Stewart Young; Able Seaman Walter Gordon Falls; Able Seaman Mustian Berryman; Able Seaman Frederick Walter Loter Marsh; Able Seaman Arthur Walter Jones; Able Seaman Andrew William George Houston. Setting sail from Thursday Island on 13th of August 1943, the Crate embarked on its journey to Exmouth Gulf in Western Australia. The vessel made a necessary stop for refuelling and repairs at the destination, causing unexpected delays in departure. Adding to the challenges, the foalboats, designated as model MK1**, and specifically ordered by line from England for the mission, arrived at the last possible moment. Unfortunately, upon inspection, it was discovered that these four boats manufactured by Harris Lubis were faulty and lacked essential components. Furthermore, they did not adhere to the specifications outlined by Davidson. As a result, numerous on-the-spot modifications were required to ensure the framework fit together and seamlessly integrated with the outer skins. These rushed alterations left the crew with limited time to familiarise themselves with the four boats before loading them onto the crate for the operation. On the 2nd of September 1943, the crate set sail from Exmouth Gulf, embarking on its journey towards Singapore under a Japanese flag. To appear more Asian, the men stained their skins with a brown dye, ensuring their disguises were convincing. Furthermore, they were cautious about the type of waste they discarded overboard, as they didn't want to leave a trail of European garbage that could raise suspicion. The journey was relatively calm, with days being mostly uneventful. However, there were times where their disguise was almost uncovered. Passing planes and ships were eerily close to discovering the true crew and the purpose of the crate. Leading telegraphist H.S. Young recounted, "At 2:25 p.m, a Jap float plane came swooping along at about 2,000 feet. No one noticed until it was right on top of us. We all dived for cover, trying to look as unconcernedly as possible. Shock passes, so does plane. I guess our flag did the trick." After a relatively uneventful voyage, the crate arrived off the coast of Singapore on the 24th of December. Under the cover of darkness, 6 men disembarked from the boat and paddled a distance of 50 kilometers using the four boats, reaching a small island near the harbour. The crate stayed off the coast, meaning that the men had to paddle to the shore. The men took 4 days' worth of supplies each, in case they were marooned or had a longer stay than anticipated. There, they established a forward base inside a cave. Meanwhile, the crew of the crate were armed with own guns, Bren guns, and grenades, in case Japanese soldiers boarded the ship. On the night of the 26th of September 1943, utilising their four boats once again, they ventured into the harbour and skillfully planted limpet mines on several Japanese ships. Leading telegraphist H.S. Young, who was aboard the ship during the raid, talked about the image described to him by the crew of one of the boats, stating, "Davidson and Falls went right in underneath the wharves, right alongside Singapore proper. The Japanese guards were walking up and down the wharves, whilst they were underneath the wharves under their feet. They followed a tug through the boom defence to go inside. The whole place was lit up like Luna Park. There was no blackout or anything like that. The town hall was chiming the chimes. There were a few ships in there, but nothing big enough to waste limpets on, so they went back through the boom the same way they came in." Following their covert mission, they safely returned to their hiding spot, evading detection. As a result of the meticulously executed explosions, it was reported that the limpet mine successfully sank or inflicted significant damage upon 7 Japanese ships, with a combined tonnage exceeding 39,000 tons. The crew of the crate waited with bated breath for the return of their fellow crew, not knowing whether or not the raid was successful. The commandos exercised patience, waiting until the aftermath of the attack had subsided before making their way back to the crate, which they reached on the 2nd of October. Their return journey to Australia was largely uneventful, save for a tense encounter in the Lombok Strait when a Japanese auxiliary minesweeper named WA-102 approached the ship closely during its patrol. Fortunately, Crate managed to evade any challenge or confrontation. Finally, on the 19th of October, the ship and its crew arrived safely back at the Exmouth Gulf, marking the conclusion of their daring mission. Recent analysis of Japanese records and decrypted radio messages have revealed a revised assessment regarding the outcome of the operation. It has been determined that only 6 ships were either sunk or damaged as a result of the attack. The Japanese radio transmissions specifically mention the targeting of 6 ships, and it is now highly likely that the attempt to attack the 7th ship was unsuccessful. The revised information provides a more accurate understanding of the mission's impact and outcome. The ships attacked were as follows. The Shosei Maru was damaged. Nichiren Maru was damaged. An unknown ship failed to detonate. Arare Maru, sunk. Hakusen Maru, sunk. Nasusen Maru, damaged. Kizen Maru, sunk. It appears that the commonly cited claim regarding the sinking of the large, high-speed tanker Shinkoku Maru is not substantiated by Japanese records. The available Japanese records clearly indicate that Shinkoku Maru departed Chuuk, located in the Caroline Islands, on the same day as the attack took place. It is important to rely on the verified historical records to accurately assess the events that transpired during the operation. The raid conducted by the Crate took the Japanese authorities in Singapore completely by surprise. Unaware that an attack of such nature could be launched from Australia, they initially suspected local saboteurs, particularly pro-communist Chinese guerrillas, as the perpetrators. In their quest to identify those responsible, a brutal wave of arrests, torture, and executions ensued. The Japanese targeted local Chinese and Malays, as well as interned prisoners of war and European civilians, in their efforts to uncover the truth. This disturbing episode became known as the Double 10th, named after October 10th, the day when the Japanese secret police initiated their widespread arrests. In light of the severe repercussions inflicted upon the local population by the Japanese, criticism has arisen concerning the justification of Operation Jaywick, especially considering its relatively limited strategic outcomes. In the aftermath of the raid, the Allies refrained from claiming responsibility for the attack on shipping, likely to preserve the secrecy surrounding the Crate for future similar missions. Consequently, the Japanese did not allocate significant military resources to defend against such attacks, and instead relied on the secret police to carry out reprisals against innocent civilians. Operation Jaywick was followed by Operation Rumeu. While some sources occasionally claim that 3 ships were sunk during the subsequent raid, there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, and it is highly likely that no vessels were actually sunk. However, it is known that the participants either lost their lives in action or were captured and subsequently executed. Lyons was killed during Operation Rumeu while holding position against 110 Japanese soldiers, with Lyons and another soldier killing or wounding over 60 enemy soldiers. For his bravery, Lyons was awarded the Distinguished Service Order and given the Order of the British Empire. In September of 1944, Australian Prime Minister John Curtin sent a letter to the Acting Governor-General to get Lyons and other soldiers the recognition they deserved. Curtin wrote, "In light of the information which has since been made available concerning the operation in which these 4 persons were engaged, it would appear that recognition of the highest standard would be justified in the first 2 cases, namely Lyon and Page, and I should be obliged if Your Excellency would kindly seek His Majesty's consent for the cancellation of the Distinguished Service Order and Military Cross approved in these cases. I consider that the services rendered by Major Lyon will be more appropriately recognised by the bestowal on him of the Victoria Cross, for great valour and devotion to duty in most hazardous undertakings, and that the Distinguished Service Order will be more fitting in Lieutenant Page's case for gallantry, skill, and devotion for duty in the most hazardous undertakings, and I recommend accordingly." An additional reason for the proposed change in Page's case is that the services rendered by him were similar and equivalent to those rendered by Lieutenant J.K.N. Davidson, RNVR, who has already received the Distinguished Service Order on the recommendations of the United Kingdom authorities. No such medals were awarded, and the war soon ended after. After the conclusion of World War II, the MV Crate was sailed to Labuan, where it was sold and handed over to the British Borno Company. Able seaman Robert Harry Eastman from Perth kept its ensign as a memento, which is now prominently displayed at the Australian War Memorial in Canberra. Following the sale, Crate was utilised off the coast of Borno until its acquisition as an Australian Royal Volunteer Coastal Patrol vessel in 1964. On Anzac Day of the same year, Crate was formally dedicated as a war memorial by the Governor of New South Wales. A plaque was affixed to the wheelhouse, bearing testament to its historical significance. Subsequently, in 1985, the Australian War Memorial obtained ownership of the Crate, and it was loaned to the Australian National Maritime Museum for public display starting from 1988. Plans for the restoration of Crate have been initiated in 2015, and the restoration work began in 2017. Since the successful mission of the Crate in Singapore, Australian Commander Unit vessels have adhered to the tradition of being named after venomous snakes. This tradition continues to the present day, with current examples including vessels named Red Viper and Coral Snake. Inspired by the story, Australian novelist Ronald Mackay authored a book titled The Heroes in 1961, providing an account of Operation Jaywick. The book delved into the details and events surrounding the mission. Subsequently, in 1989, a British-Australian miniseries was produced, adapting Mackay's book into a dramatised portrayal of the operation. The miniseries, also titled The Heroes, was directed by Donald Crombie. The cast included actors such as Paul Rise, portraying Ivan Lyon, John Back as Donald Davidson, and Jason Denovan as Happy Houston, bringing the characters and their story to life on screen. The miniseries aimed to capture the essence and significance of Operation Jaywick and the bravery of those involved. Operation Jaywick serves as a reminder of the brave sacrifices by those who served during World War II. The raid showed how war could be brought to the enemy's doorstep, and highlighted how guerrilla warfare could be used to deceive the enemy. News of the operation, conducted thousands of miles away, captured the imagination of the Australian public. It provided a much-needed morale boost at a time when the nation was facing the harsh realities of war. In conclusion, the success of the operation characterised the resourcefulness, courage, and expertise of Australia and its allies during the war.